The Happy Warrior Podcast, conservative commentary on the news of the day from a more positive perspective.
I have been uncharacteristically silent these past 10 months. I had thought that silence would soon be coming to an end, but I'm afraid I must tell you now that fate has decided on a different course for me. In August of last year, I underwent surgery to remove a cancerous tumor in my abdomen. That operation was thought to have been a success, but it caused a cascade of secondary complications which I have been fighting in hospital ever since. It was a long and hard fight with many setbacks, but I thought I was steadily, if slowly, overcoming each obstacle along the way and gradually making my way back to health. However, recent tests have revealed that the cancer has returned. There was no sign of it as recently as a month ago, which means it is aggressive and spreading rapidly. My doctors tell me their best estimate is that I have only a few weeks left to live. This is the final verdict. My fight is over. I wish to thank my doctors and caregivers whose efforts have been magnificent. My dear friends, who have given me a lifetime of memories and whose support has sustained me through these difficult months. And all my partners in the Washington Post, Fox News, and Crown Publishing. Lastly, I thank my colleagues, my readers, and my viewers who have made my career possible and given consequence to my life's work. I believe that the pursuit of truth and right ideas through honest debate and rigorous argument is a noble undertaking. I am grateful to have played a small role in the conversations that have helped guide this extraordinary nation's destiny. I leave this life with no regrets. It was a wonderful life, full and complete with the great loves and great endeavors that make it worth living. I am sad to leave, but I leave with the knowledge that I lived the life that I intended. That letter is from the magnificent Charles Krauthammer. It was just announced yesterday by Fox News that Krauthammer is expected to pass away in just a few coming weeks, which is a big surprise because even it was a month ago, they had said that Krauthammer would be returning to Special Report, which was kind of the Krauthammer hour.
Yep.
with supporting cast.
Yeah, he's going to leave a huge, it's not, he's not like O'Reilly or Hannity where they had like their name emblazoned on the show, but he's going to leave a huge void in that bench on Fox News, I already felt it with him being gone for the medical absences and stuff like that, but yeah, that's tough. That letter is super sad. I'm still absorbing it. I read it yesterday, and now you just read it again today, and I'm still, as someone who's had, a close family member who had a struggle with cancer where, we had the whole, you have weeks to live, or we don't think you're going to make it through this week kind of stuff, and planned their funeral and everything. It's intense, and it's taken me back to that, and I'm feeling it.
Sorry, man. I hear you. I couldn't imagine what it's like for him and his family. That's really tough. Krauthammer is an incredible guy. If I was to summarize him, he's kind of like the Christopher Reeves of politics.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's 68. I mean, he's looked like an old guy forever.
Yep.
But he's 68. He's amazing. He's a Pulitzer Prize winner. And he's also okay, so I'll go through his history quickly. So Charles Krauthammer was the guy on Fox News that usually sat in the middle, and he maybe seemed a little grumpy, but he was always the one that they all kind of deferred to at the very end. They'd all say whoever was on there today, say their piece, and then they'd turn to Charles Krauthammer, and then Charles Krauthammer would talk like the wise old man on the mountain with gripping and devastating sometimes insight. Just a real genius for understanding politics, but also political writing. And you would never know it. He wasn't one of those that would go out and tell you, but he was a quadriplegic with severe chronic pain problems and health complications throughout his life. Because when he was in his 20s, I think he was like 22. I have a second article with the actual facts. He was at Yale. Let's see, it was Yale. I know I'm gonna mess up the story. and he got in an accident when he was diving, and they broke his spine, and it left him a quadriplegic. And it's hard to tell. Sometimes I heard someone telling me, well, why does he look that way? Why does he look so weird? Well, the reason why he looks weird is because he can't move his arms.
Yeah.
He can't move his legs. I mean, this motion right here I'm doing, that was it. An amazing man. I don't have Fox News. I don't have cable, but I mean, I watch at my grandparents' house often, and I'm with Robert. I kind of miss having him there. He's an inspiration to me in that, despite in his early 20s becoming quadriplegic, that never stopped him. He finished getting his doctorate in psychiatry. He then became, I don't want to use the word famous necessarily, but a prestigious psychiatrist. He wrote some papers that were impactful at the time in the 70s on depression, mental illness actually. And then that got the attention of the Carter administration. This is one of the few things good that came out of the Carter administration. And the Carter administration had him in because of his specialty on depression. And then when he was doing that, he got into the idea of political writing. And he kind of got a knack for it. He was good at it, and he got syndicated, and that kind of just set the rest of the course for his life. And just incredible. I mean, I have a number of health problems, but even people without, they look at him. It's like, how do you even begin to do half the things you do, Charles? So from a person with chronic health problems, I kind of look at him as an icon, someone to really just be impressed by. I'm kind of sad that I'll never get to meet the guy. I think that'd be a pretty amazing experience. There's kind of people that you really respect in your profession. Or you know what I'm saying, Robert.
Yeah.
And they're just kind of the people that you respect and you would want to emulate. I guess hero maybe?
Like a role model or just an inspiration,
Yeah. Charles Krauthammer is that to a lot of people. If any news junkies, people who like politics, I don't know if there are people out there that are still with Charles Krauthammer about his work as a psychiatrist.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who don't know the story, the fact that he was, quadriplegic and stuff like that. A lot of people do not know about that and have probably seen him, might not even know the name, but would recognize the face right away,
Yeah. No, he, as far as I understood, even in his political books, it just wasn't something he brought up.
Yeah.
It wasn't, I don't know
He didn't
why
let it
was.
define him.
Yeah. I can respect that. I think today in our name dropping, attention craving victim culture we're living in right now, that's pretty noble. It's hard to do, and a different age. But I have mad respect for him. Yeah. So I got it. Yep. So yeah, he was chief psychiatry resident at Massachusetts General Hospital. And then in 1970, he took a job in the Carter administration. So I remember the gist of it. I love that. I love how he ends it there. He says, I leave this life with no regrets. It was a wonderful life, full and complete with the great loves and great endeavors that make it worth living. I am sad to leave, but I leave with the knowledge that I lived the life that I intended. It's just...
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah. I hope... if given the opportunity, I go with half the grace,
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, I don't know how if I could do it. Yeah, even half as well, perfectly said. The tension, the stress, and the pain. It's unbelievable.
Very, very stand-up guy, and praying for him and pulling for him, and... We'll see what happens, because my story, of having a loved one ended good with them going into remission and surviving, but we had that that summer where we just kept hearing over and over again.
No, that's a blessing and a miracle, and I'm glad you guys had that. That is, that's rare.
It is, and we had lots of friends, because you meet people in those circles and stuff that you make friends with the people that you're hanging out with, in those settings and waiting rooms and stuff, and a lot of them don't get to have that happy ending, so all the best for him, and Godspeed.
Yeah. And Godspeed your cousin as well. Was it your cousin or your brother? You said?
Oh,
was it
my wife.
Your wife?
Yeah.
Okay. I apologize.
No, you're fine. I don't know that we've ever talked about it, so
No.
you wouldn't have had the context.
No.
So,
I'm glad I haven't told any cancer patient jokes. I don't know if there are any.
That's okay. I think I've told her all of them. Oh.
It was at the worst. Like, Krauthammer just came at, like, the same day that the Anthony Bourdain stuff came out.
This has been a hell of a
And then right
week.
before that was some fashion designer that's the sister-in-law of David Spade. I don't know anything else about Kate Spade. Yeah.
And I don't know if was she the sister? I thought she was just the sister.
No, I thought she was married to the brother David Spade was the
okay.
story I read.
Okay.
I have no idea. I'm not
Me
a
neither.
David
My wife
Spade.
had to explain it to me.
I like David Spade when I see him, but I don't see what he's doing these
Yeah.
days.
I'm the same way. But, yeah, just tragic. And, boy, it has been a hard week for, you talk about Anthony Bourdain and Kate Spade. Successful people. People that
successful.
a lot of us average people, like myself included, even though I know better, look at and I go, they had everything and had this amazing life that sounds like a super adventure to me. What on earth could have possessed them to do that? But
and even if you have mental illness, it's just human where you say, they got everything right. So why did they do it?
yeah, and I know rationally, I know better that, it's like what's going on the inside and stuff like that, but I still have that reaction to it, it's just...
Kate Spade had sold her company, her fashion design company, for $2 billion.
Yeah.
I mean, she was the tippy top of the fashion world, where I'm sure there are so many I don't know if there are hundreds of thousands of people in fashion, but thousands of people in fashion that would love to have a tenth of her success.
Yep.
The same thing for Tony Bourdain and people in the journalist world, people in the culinary world.
Yep.
They wish they could have been Anthony Bourdain. Get to travel, eat good food, dine with famous people and attractive women.
Yeah, go to exotic locales, meet exotic people, have fantastic food, and be able to just be like, it's okay.
Yes. So throw in some naughty words because I'm Anthony Bourdain.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's hard to believe. It's hard to believe. I mean, I didn't know Kate Spade at all, but Anthony Bourdain, I did know because I watched his show, not on CNN, because I lost cable by then, but on the Travel Channel. When I first got pancreatitis in 2007, it was when... So just hit your microphone.
You're fine.
Sorry. When I first got pancreatitis in 2007, I was in the hospital, and it was the same time they had the writer's strike. I don't know if people remember this.
Oh, yeah.
So television was lousy.
Yeah.
That was a bad time to be stuck with lousy TV.
You were bedridden right in the middle of the right... Oh, God.
So all
Timing.
it really was Travel Channel. And so I did watch some good Anthony Bourdain. And the episode I remember is he went to China and found this guy in Hong Kong that made noodles the old-fashioned way. He did it in a loincloth, which was kind of weird. But besides that, it was pretty amazing. And it was like, this is the last noodle maker in Hong Kong. After this, it'll be art,
Yeah. The first one I ever saw of his, he was in Morocco, or maybe, no, it wasn't Morocco. I think he was in Kathmandu, or some, like, northern-ish Africa city, and, desert kind of setting, and, I think sub-Saharan. Anyway, he's in this town, and he's trying this local delicacy where they, like, dig a hole in the sand, and they, like, basically slow roast a goat in this hole in the ground, and then especially the head meat is the delicacy, so he's just, like, sitting there, like, you're watching him pull the roasted goat out of the hole in the desert, in the sand that was, like, basically, like, being used as a hot box, and peeling the flesh off the face of the goat and being like, here. And Anthony Bourdain's like, it's actually not bad,
Yeah, I have no idea if he was a good cook. I mean, he said he was, but he's on TV.
Well, clearly he had a claim for it,
Yeah, but he was a great presenter. He was fun. He felt like there's a regular Joe having fun, and he was just kind of showing you how the cool cats do it. I thought, sometimes he got into politics, didn't necessarily like what he was saying in politics, but, whatever. That was kind of his shtick, being a little bit of a radical.
Oh, yeah. But, yeah, they said that he got into a lot of, and that's one thing you see a lot with people that have kind of a hardcore, I almost want to say like a rock star kind of lifestyle, is that they get into like the hard drugs. And so he went through when he was really trying to push himself when he was a young chef with everything to prove and whatnot, really got into some of the harder drugs and stuff like that. And it's just like, I mean, you know how drugs work with the like stimulating the pleasure center of the brain and stuff like that. Then once they're off of it, it's like they can never. I mean, that's the thing in hard drugs that people don't tell you, is that when you're done, you may literally lose the ability to experience pleasure the same way ever.
Yeah, they don't. It's very common that they don't bounce back, essentially. They don't get that state of normal they had before they got into the drugs. And state normal may not have been all that good. I mean, that's often why people self-medicate and use the drugs in the first place.
But yeah, it seems like there's a few of them, because like and it's just in my head because I just was like listening to this whole like 4-part podcast autobiography kind of thing of David Bowie, and got into a lot of like his hard drug years and stuff like that, and how it affected him mentally, and how it affected him when he was aging and stuff. So you see these like, like the Rolling Stones and all these aging rockers and aging like bad boy figures and stuff like that later in life, just how much the drug use when they were young screws them. And it's just like,
wow.
Yeah, it's tough. And I'm sure that played a role in it, but it's just like, as one columnist that I read said, he emphasized it's problems, plural, that usually result in this. So it's like, I'm sure it was a factor, but I'm sure there was a lot more that we will never know going on there,
Yeah, no. The one about Kate Spade that I found really interesting is she got fixed. One of the persons suggested that she got fixated on this no, it wasn't an autobiography, but a biography on Robin Williams. And they talked about the Robin Williams near the end of his life. He did commit suicide, and some of the explanation, the biography is because he was developing dementia and could no longer perform as a comedian.
Oh,
and that was one of the reasons why he just kind of ended it.
I hadn't heard that. Ooh.
Now Robin Williams he was bipolar, and he had bad depression with that.
Yep. But yeah, I hadn't heard the dementia part, because that's always been like I don't have any of that in my family, but it's always been a huge phobia for me, because so much of like the way I live my life is this internal mental landscape, and the thought of that going away or like being unstable is like, that scares that's super existential to me, terrifying.
Oh, I think most people are probably in agreement with you. That's really hard.
Yeah.
Really hard. Hard to watch, and I imagine it's very hard to have it.
Yeah. So, you've got a note here, and I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there. If anyone is ever, there's always alternatives. Where there's life, there's always a chance. And if you do know anyone that's, struggling, or you're struggling yourself, the National Suicide Prevention Hotline number is 1-800-273-8255. And that's always a good resource to have. And there's always, it's like, it sounds cliche, and different movements have like used these words before, but it is true. It gets better,
Yeah, it sounds like a 90s PSA.
It does, but I'm sticking to it, darn it.
Need Sonic the Hedgehog here to tell us it's no good.
Because knowing is half the battle.
No, I'm serious. I've talked to the people at the suicide hotline one time. It wasn't for myself. It was for a loved one, and she was going through a hard time. Obviously, I'm not going to mention her name or who she is. Yeah, but I mean that was a way for me to help cope and how to understand her situation better. And then she, I think, did call them. My family has bad mental illness. It's not just the chronic pancreatitis. People with chronic medical conditions often develop depression, just trying to cope. But just bad mental illness in my family. My grandpa had it. My father had it. My aunt has it. My 2 uncles have it. All in the Pischke line. Mental illness all the way through. I don't know what that's about. That's just kind of the Pischke curse. I mean, my Uncle Jim, he decided not to have kids ever because he didn't want to pass it on. So it's I understand that burden somewhat. It's hard to explain how hard it is it's hard to tell you, like, the pain. It's hard to divide mental pain from physical pain because, you know, you'll all just kind of experience it cognitively. But, I mean, the mental pain can be or even worse than the physical pain. I mean, it can be overwhelming. In 2015, this was right before my brother was about to get married, I was struggling with suicidal thoughts. And so I did go to someone, my brother and my pastor, and so I visited the people over at Avera Behavioral Health here in Sioux Falls. And we worked something out for me to meet with a therapist, and we got the all track. I already had depression and was taking medicine for it, but I hadn't had a medicine change in a long time, and so getting talk therapy and medicine, it made a big difference. When you're feeling that way, you just kind of feel like the world would be better off without you, and you should just quit. You know, you should just quit the game of life. But it's not true.
Yeah. And a thing to always keep in mind that's always, you know, helped me a little bit to think about is that suicide is a very last minute, like, snap decision kind of thing, and usually, and, you know, they show that with studies and stuff like that. That's just like, now depression is not, but, like, thinking that suicide's the answer to that. For example, like, every person that they've ever caught with nets off the Golden Gate Bridge, every one of them,
the ones that live,
yeah, that they've caught with the nets and survive, has been like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I was doing, and I'm so glad that you caught me, and I you know, it's just like, I was just in a dark place and I couldn't get out, and I mean, you know, it's just like, it's not worth it, and no matter how much it hurts, it's just like, you'll regret it right before the end, and, like, then not be able to turn it around. And that's always spoke to me. Like, there was this city that had, like, a serious suicide problem on this one bridge, and they put up a rail around it that made it a little bit harder to jump off of it,
mm-hmm.
and it dropped the suicide rate like 90%, because that just the act of having to get around that rail, it wasn't, like, insurmountable. But it was like almost a laboratory condition where it was just like, just adding that little bit of threshold of difficulty,
made them think
all of a sudden
it.
Made them think about it, and like, no, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, if you are having any suicidal, so there's suicidal thoughts and there's suicide ideation. So ideation is kind of like the just beginning, the germ of the idea of committing suicide. And if you're going through that, get help. Don't wait till it gets such a problem that you have the gun in your hand or the scarf or whatever else. You want to get help before you get to that point. If you're at that point, get help. But try to get help before you get there. If there's no shame in getting help. There's no shame in seeing a doctor or a therapist. There's no shame in taking medication. It's amazing we have medication. My great-grandma committed suicide. There was no medicine back then for her when she did it. And it's amazing. The drugs we have help a lot of people. And, I mean, counselor, talking, it does help some. And it can definitely help you see how you get in these ruts. And I'm not suggesting in any way that you are responsible for what you're going through. You could have just got the bad luck of the draw of life. But you're worth living. And, you know, if Charles Krauthammer had ended his life once he became quadruped. That is not correct. When he became a quadriplegic. I mean, think of everything we would have lost. I mean, his political writings and his influence. People have called him the William F. Buckley of their generation.
That's apt. I think so.
Yeah, I mean,
it's kind of like the postmodern William Buckley.
How many of us are wishing that Robin Williams was still here so he could play the genie in the Aladdin Live remake?
I know, right?
Yeah. You're worth having in this life. Life, it can be hard, but there's got to be a purpose here. You know, there's a lot of talk right now about why suicide is up. In my notes, I have shows the study that talks about that suicide right now is at a high that went 30% up since like 2014, especially among middle-aged people, but also youth. So your 18, your 20, your 1-year-olds. A lot of talk about why is that. I don't know. I don't know if it's. I mean, It's important this way. I guess that a lot of people. So this is a conservative argument, and if you guys feel I'm wrong, I apologize. Part of the conservative argument here is that people are feeling lost and will life not giving because they feel that life has no purpose. And this was a region that religion sometimes played, and that political activism and just trying to live for the general happiness or the pleasure of it doesn't quite fill that need gap as well. I don't know if that's true.
I agree with you there. It's and you hear this a lot, and you'll hear it from the left and the right. It's just the different ideas on what the solution is vary a lot, and there's a lot of argument there, obviously. Is that religion filled a void for people and, helped them and gave them a faith and a solidarity that, is alien to someone living in these times. Almost, there's still a lot of people that have it, but a lot of us don't. And postmodern secular society has yet to rectify it to offer a counterbalance. You can go with the Nietzschean, and this is always taken way out of context and not understood correctly, but that whole Nietzsche God is dead thing. Yeah. But doesn't really the whole idea, the whole super complex, the part that no one reads because it's too long, but the sound bite sounds nice, part about the Ubermensch and moving on beyond that phase. The secular world never adopted anything that fills that void, and so when you don't have some kind of spiritualism or for me, Christ in your life, it's hard. It's really hard to figure out a way out of that. And I think a trap that a lot of smart, good people fall into intellectually is trying to reason your way to hope. And hope and faith, there's this passage in the Bible, I can't remember how it goes, something like, the Lord baffles, and the Lord, confuses, and I can't remember if it's Psalms or Numbers. Anyway,
I'm not very good at quoting scriptures, so don't look to me.
Okay. And confounds. Anyway, sorry, I have
This
lost
has been a message from Pastor Robert Mellon.
Pastor Robert,
with
yeah,
the
that's
Sioux
right.
Empire Life Church.
Yeah. Our Lady of Perpetual Exemption. But no, it just... Yeah, okay, so here's where I was going with that. The secular tools of the postmodern world of pure intellectual interpretation and deconstruction doesn't help you build anything in the realm of faith. They're like two different frequencies, and you need both in your life. You need skepticism, you need reason and logic. I mean, I'm a big proponent of the ideas of the Enlightenment and stuff like that. But I think our society still hasn't come to terms with and accepted, and I think future societies will look back on us the same way we look back on medieval times, and we look at medieval times and be like, they had no rationality and just were all about their faith and blah blah blah. I think I hope that hundreds of years from now, or hopefully sooner, people will look back at this era and be like, they had so much science and reason and tech, but they hadn't figured out how to marry that with having faith and having a path.
It's kind of hollow. Secular society right now rings kind of hollow.
Yeah, and as someone who kind of went through a extensive existential crisis there for a while, what in Christian circles you'd call a long night of or long twilight of the soul or whatever, I explored a lot of philosophy and really, really got into, and a lot of people don't know this about me, got super into apologetics, and really, which if you're not familiar, apologetics is the Christian study of basically justifying.
It's not about apologizing, if that's, no, that's not what it is.
But it's about maybe justifying would be the way to say it, or kind of like the case for argument for Christianity versus non-Christianity or non-faith,
or whatever what your sect or whatever it is versus the anti-version. Yeah. There's this thing There's something called a Mormon apologetics. It's the exact same thing. It's just Mormons arguing in favor of Mormonism.
That's a good way to put it. It's like apologetics. It's a bunch of people arguing. It's like, well, yeah, kinda. Yeah. And so I explored a lot of that, looking for a path and stuff. And in the end, you just I don't know how to explain it, because once again, it's a rational. It's trying to give you a boiled down, rational, physical, packaged by Amazon thing I can hand you and say, this is how faith works. But it doesn't work at all like that. No. It defies and baffles that expression and those tools. You need different tools, and you need a different perspective and a different frequency. And I this is getting way too abstract probably for people, but that's just where I'm at on like the thought and the lack of faith in society and its role in the darkness with the school shootings and suicide and stuff like that. I mean, clearly there's a void there, you know?
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. Religion isn't necessarily the answer for everyone. I was thinking about this a lot. There are a lot of my friends who are LDS that they're sort of still in the church, but they don't really like the institution part. A lot of people our age are this way, where they're like, I sort of like religion. I like to be spiritual, but I don't like religion.
Yeah, and it sounds like a cliche, but honestly, I think that I don't know, maybe that growth and that movement, and I'm curious your thoughts on it. I'm spitballing. I don't have a dog in this fight, or I'm not like, no, it works this way.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I wonder. Part of me wonders if a lot of the whole I'm spiritual but not religious is a failing on behalf of our religious institutions.
I think you're right. I think it is a failing of
to connect with the people, and it's a failure of in programming. We call, like, I use what's called agile methodology, where it's just like you're constantly like changing. This didn't work, pull this out, change this in, and it's just like it's supposed to be rapid development, agile, you know. And I feel like religion or religious institutions, because I feel like God and spirituality, they don't need our help to work. They work for what they do, but the human earthly institutions that we use to be the vessels of that are obviously, because they're people, they are imperfect by definition. I feel like they aren't agile enough sometimes to like get to connect with people. And I don't know. It's just, like I said, I don't have a dog in that fight or whatever. And we're really getting into theology here, but that's kind of where I'm at. Is I feel like that is one of the challenges of the modern era.
You need to. Okay, so here if you're saying, well, I don't want religion. I don't know why my guy sounds like a redneck. I don't want religion. I don't want to have to deal with church. Look, you need something in your life that tells you your life is worth something, and not because you make a lot of money, and not because you're the coolest kid at your company, and that you're really, you're really successful. That isn't the secret to living a good life. You need to believe that there's a purpose to your life. You need to believe that there's a plan for you, and religion gives that for a lot of people. My faith lets me know that there's a purpose and a reason why I'm still here. And that part of that's my family. If I left this earth, I leave them. I leave them with the pain that I left because of that suicide and the damage that does. But then I'm also not there for, my brother just had a little daughter. If I committed suicide in 2015, I'd never meet my little niece, Lena, who I love so much, who only talks with raspberries. She's kind of a fun kid.
Awesome.
Find a reason for you that makes you know that there's the purpose to be living. Thomas Jefferson is one of my heroes. He was a deist, and the deists were almost, they're kind of like the spiritual camp, where they weren't huge into organized religion, but they did believe that God had a plan, and that God was the great watchmaker, and that he set things into motion.
Universe is a machine.
Yeah, and he set things into motion. People say that Thomas Jefferson was not a religious person or didn't have faith. No, that's not the truth.
When I was in my 20s, I would call myself a deist.
Yeah.
Sometimes. And yeah, you're right. A lot of people, they quote the more secular quotes of Thomas Jefferson and like, oh yeah, here's a closet atheist. It's like, nah, deist, man. There's a very important distinction.
Now you can be. Now there are lots of great atheists and agnostics that make it work, and awesome, good for you. My dad's kind of in that boat, off and on. Penn Jillette is a famous guy that wrote it's something like The Secret to Being a Good Atheist or something like that. And it was kind of trying to be like the atheist Bible. So you can do that, but find a reason to live. If you had never done a spiritual search in your life, I recommend that you do so. That might be what you need to help get you through your pain. I didn't mean for this segment to go so long. I apologize. I think Robert's right. When you look at societies that have higher rates of suicide, they tend to be the richer societies, and they tend to have higher levels of Gnosticism. Japan has one of the highest rates of agnosticism in the world, and they have one of the highest rates of suicide. Now, that's obviously a correlation. Now, is there a direct causation to that? I don't know. But I think that does at least point to that people need something to fill that spiritual center of their lives, and just living day to day, and the science isn't going to just do it. So that's my recommendation to you. And one last time, if you are in a situation or a family member that is in a situation that's going to do the suicide or talks about or jokes about, if people are joking about doing suicide, you should take that seriously. If they are in a situation where you think that there's the slim chance they might commit suicide, you call the suicide hotline, even if it's not for yourself. Call them, and they'll give you advice. Depending on what state you live, you can help people to get help. In South Dakota, you can submit people for. I'm trying to think of the term where they take you in for 24 hours, put you on watch. I don't know which states have those kind of laws. That's why you should call them. They're the experts. They're made of counselors and people that have gone through these problems. They're very kind. They're very patient. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, sorry this is so serious. Last week was so serious when I was just on my own. And
then this week is serious.
Serious.
So let's unserious this bad boy.
Yes, let's take a break from serious. This is Happy Warrior, not serious.
Not morose warrior.
Morose warrior. Sad is the knight with a sad face. Okay. Yeah, so if you can't tell, today I'm wearing my Star Wars shirt. Nice. I have a lot of these actually, but this is my R2-D2 one. I'm a big Star Wars fan.
Have you seen Solo?
You know what? I was going to see it today, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. But see, I have this problem where I read the wiki and the reviews, so I have a pretty good understanding of the various plot points and how it plays out.
I do that. It's terrible. It's awful. I feel guilty about doing it, but I do it like without fail. Infinity War, I totally ruined it for myself.
Oh, and then I have a bad habit too when we're going to the movie, and my family members, I'll tell them, "Oh yeah, and this movie," and they'll be doing things. Oh, my bad. Oh, by the way, Thanos wins.
Spoilers.
Whoops.
Spoilers. Spoilers. Oh.
Yeah,
So,
I have bad habit. So, what have you seen Han Solo?
That's the
You're
one.
Usually on top of this.
I usually am, but I have not seen Solo. This week was kind of heck for me at work, so I am behind on my pop culture a little bit.
It's a weird time it just came out at a weird time of the year, Han Solo.
It did. I think so.
I think that was the biggest strike against it. The reason why they made, because they're saying that Disney may lose as much as 80 million, between 20 and 80 million.
Do you think part of it, though, and I kind of agree with this, is the Star Wars fatigue?
I don't think it's Star Wars fatigue. I think it's the mishandling of the franchise. Okay. I think people would be willing to go watch it, but because I don't know. The Marvel, because people say, well, point to the Marvel movies, and they come out with so many ridiculous ones. But those are more fun, lighthearted. You don't have to take them that seriously. Where Star Wars are very thematic, and they're powerful, and they're like they're big concept movies.
Yeah, they're monomyth is what they are. They're like, the warrior or the hero with 1,000 faces, like Achilles.
Oh yeah. That guy that had his theory about the hero and
the monomyth is.
Yeah, yep. Thank you. Thank you. Between the two of us, we'll get these names.
There you go.
I love Star Wars. I I'm still a pretty big fan, but I used to read the Wikipedia at night for fun.
Best wiki name ever. Ever.
And it killed me when Disney killed the old canon.
Oh, and now
hated
these
it.
Star Wars legends.
Yes.
They are pulling a lot of good stuff, though, from
They are going
old.
back. I do appreciate that when they do it.
Yep.
That big Star Wars fan. I think so. Here's my 2 cents on why the Han Solo movie isn't making money. One, it came out a weird time of the year. I don't think necessarily it just came out too soon after the last one. I think it came out a weird time of the year. 2, there was a lot of problems in production and a lot of rumors that came out of that. And 3, it came out after Last Jedi, which sucks. That's why people don't
Shots
like Han
fired.
Solo.
Shots fired.
People don't like Solo because they burned us on the Last Jedi.
So you didn't like Last Jedi?
Oh,
huh?
I hate it.
Man, the fans were so divided on
with
that
a vengeance.
one. And yeah, it was a weird one. The Last Jedi was a super weird. We talk about I just talked about postmodernism and deconstructionism, and I feel like that movie, for better or worse, got hit with a lot of that, like the whole the thwarting expectations with the
to the nth degree.
Yeah, it's just like everything about it was designed to do exactly that, and so in that sense, I think it was a deconstruction of Star Wars, and it's really weird that that's what they did for a middle movie in a trilogy, because now
it feels like we put Empire and Return of the Jedi in one movie.
Yeah, but in a super weird way. And so part of me is like, you kind of knew where they were going to be or thought that you'd know where they were going after Force Awakens. But now I have no clue. It could start in a cantina where they're negotiating something. It could open with a massive epic sweeping battle. It could open with somebody in a hut on a mud world, and I have no idea where it's going. I have no idea what I think basically Kylo and Rey are going to have a showdown, and that's the only thing I know, and I don't see how the Empire or the Republic or the First Order or
whatever they want to call themselves.
Yeah, I don't see where the Empire, the rebranded Madison Avenue rebranded Empire goes from here.
The very thinly veiled Nazis.
Yeah, so it's just and this gets, it's I liked Force Awakens, and I actually kind of liked the Last Jedi. I think just because I like Star Wars so much.
Yeah.
But there's some stuff about the new universe that really bugs me, and the New Republic existed and then was instantly point and click removed by Starkiller Base.
We're all partying on one planet.
And apparently all of their fleets were on everyone. They govern an entire galaxy. And even in the Star Wars universe, it's established that it takes time to move between points. Yeah. Yet somehow, this fringe little army that went off into the void after the Empire fell came back with all these super weapons and all this great tech, and somehow recruited the whole time they were out there, and did all sorts of technical stuff and advanced. Meanwhile, the New Republic, that's not how history works anyway.
No, it's never the book. You almost are required to read the books to understand what the fetch is going on,
which is annoying. And then even when you do read them, which a lot of them are not that well written.
No, especially the new stuff.
You're talking about the Aftermath series, right? That's the one between. I do not like the style that is written in. Because I own them all and I went through them, but I could not. I like a Star Wars book once in a while. I could not get into those.
Yeah,
and I don't know. I think part of it is it really got bogged down into these characters that I don't care about. I'd rather they'd have given me as a historian, I'd rather they give me a history textbook, a New Republic history textbook from the year before their only planet got blown up, so that I could go through it textbook style and be like, okay, this happened, this happened, this happened. Thank you.
Besides my issues with the First Order and the Resistance, I don't know. Whatever. I'm not getting into the name, that the handling of the legacy characters was so badly done, and that's what kills me most about the two new movies, Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. It's like, you can do whatever the heck you want with Rey and Kylo Ren, I don't care, but when you mess with Luke Skywalker, then we have a problem.
And what's funny is that, and I see this because I've seen some videos criticizing Star Wars. The hardcore Star Wars fans saw Force Awakens and they were just like, you didn't do anything original, you just rehashed A New Hope, which, yeah, basically, you had this brand new open world and you could do anything because it's a new story and it's not a prequel, so you could do anything you wanted and you just rehashed A New Hope. How frustrating. And then they're like, they're like, message received. So then they do Last Jedi, and just totally, like, no story structure anywhere near anything like...
subvert.
Yeah, exactly. And the fans are like, well, this is nothing like old Star Wars. So I get that sentiment, but still, I feel like for all of the money and power and the, like... They must have an army of writers and everything else.
That's the thing, though, because they had kind of a plan they wanted to do for the three movies. Because what's the guy that
Abrams?
Thank you. Abrams they kind of had a mapped out plan where they wanted to take the three movies, and so he was going to do the first one, and then now he gets to do the ninth one. But Rian Johnson, close to basically ignored it, and he had said that this was his pet project, his baby, and he didn't let a lot of people work on the script. I think the few people that he allowed to work on the script actually is Carrie Fisher, because she was known in Hollywood for punching up scripts, adding witty dialogue and fun jokes. Her
story, if you haven't checked it out, just her life story after Star Wars in general is pretty amazing, just for like how much behind the scenes, like, and I love that the actors that you think, oh, they like disappeared after this, but then instead what they were doing is they got behind the camera and all of a sudden they become like mega producers and directors and movers and shakers behind the scenes and are like responsible for all sorts of good stuff. Carrie Fisher is one of those people, kind of like Bobcat Goldthwait or whatever, if you remember the 80s, that goofy comedian. It's just kind of like, what happened to him? Everyone thinks he OD'd or something like that, but it's like, no, he became a producer and now he's like the secret hand behind a whole bunch of your favorite comedies for the last 2 decades. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Mark Hamill, same way. His non-Star Wars movies are really bad. Don't look them up. But he went into dubbing and voice acting, and he's like he's a giant. He's a giant in voice acting. Any cartoon, any animation that you ever saw that was made in the Western world, not Japan, he's in it somewhere.
Yep.
He
is my, God bless Heath Ledger and his amazing performance as the Joker in The Dark Knight. But Mark Hamill, because of Batman the Animated Series, will always be my Joker.
No, I agree. I'm the same way.
1,000% hands down. Whenever I picture the Joker's look and mannerisms and voice, Mark Hamill.
Yeah, Kevin Conroy's my Batman. So.
Me too. I've had that fight at SuperCon with people about it because I've just been like, I'm just like, Kevin Conroy or GTFO, you know?
Oh my gosh.
I got into a huge thing, and actually, like, there's this YouTube video that agrees with me, so of course I'm constantly posting it, that's a guy sitting there with a bottle of Jameson with his parents explaining why Mask of the Phantasm is the vastly superior Batman, is the greatest Batman movie of all time, even against...
That's a good movie.
Even against The Dark Knight, and he's like, here's why. And then he just lays it out point by point, and it's a brilliant analysis.
It is a good
movie. And
it
made me want to go find and rewatch that movie, because...
Mask Phantasm released in theaters.
Yep.
Yeah. That is a good movie.
It is a good movie.
That's about Star Wars. How much time? Have we totally collapsed our time, Robert?
We've been on the air for 50 minutes.
Okay, so we got 10. So E3 is next week.
Yep.
What do you think? E3 used to be big when I was in high school. It's like, it's E3, everything's
E3. It's still big. I have never been a big follower of it. I'm one of those people that anything that actually interesting comes out of it will probably get boiled down into like a soundbite and a headline, and I will just watch for those.
Yeah, you don't need to watch the whole conference.
Yeah, I don't need to watch the conference. I have no interest in ever going.
I used to watch the Nintendo conferences.
Wow.
Yeah, I was big into it.
Did you subscribe to Nintendo Power?
No, my parents didn't want to pay that much money for a magazine that you can no longer get.
That's tough, man.
And I still don't have a Switch. I'm behind. Anyhow, no, I used to watch it. I even remember the one when they came out, where they were showing what was the revolution that became the Wii.
Yep.
And that was so cool. I also remember when Miyamoto came out with the Master Sword that first time. It's like 2005, I think. That was pretty awesome.
Back in the glory days, you know.
Yeah, no, E3 is fun. Well, if you're not gonna, so are there any games you're looking forward to right now, or into at the moment?
I am having a devil of a time with gaming. Let me get into a thing here. I just last night, Steam had on sale Baldur's Gate, the Enhanced Edition, and like all of the like spin-offs and sequels and expansions for it, like the entire set of all of them. And so I had a friend who's like, "Oh, I know you were super into those games. You should check those out." And so I bought it and installed it, and I played it for like 10 minutes, and then I was like, "Okay, I'm done." And just even games I love anymore, I can't. Something broke in me, Peter.
Maybe you have depression, Robert.
Something is broken.
That's one of the symptoms of depression.
I can't game anymore. I get nothing out of it anymore. It seems like.
Robert, are there things that you don't enjoy now that you used to enjoy?
Yes, there are, and it's sad.
This sounds like a Lyrica ad.
It is.
We'll have to have a commercial where you're sad in the beginning and everything's kind of grayed out. And then by the end of the 60-second ad, everything's bright.
And inexplicably...
You're smiling, you're walking the dog.
And inexplicitly, there's a bathtub sitting outside, connected to no plumbing, that I'm sitting in, and then all of a sudden I'm like, wait, that's a Cialis ad.
Why? What? That's so much work. You better hope no one comes and walks by.
Yep.
They're like, why are those two old people naked in a bathtub?
In the middle of a field in the
Midwest. I can't unsee it.
Oh. Drug commercials.
I love that ad. I love that one. Is still funny. That one is one that's a keeper. So no, you're not into the gaming right now. I've had that. Yeah. Right now, I'm finishing off Pillars of Eternity, and then because the second one came out, and then my brother James owns a PS4. So we've been playing Battlefield 2, Star Wars Battlefield 2, like nonstop.
Good.
It's
okay.
It's all right.
Because for the sole purpose of Star Wars Battlefront, because I was such a huge Battlefront fan, especially Battlefront 2 on the original Xbox.
Yes.
I just loved that Galactic Conquest. That was like all I wanted to do ever, and is just play that over and over again. And so I was so pumped when they were announcing a new Battlefront, and it just looked amazing. And it's the reason I got an Xbox One.
Yeah.
And after a year of not playing it and just being so disappointed with how little content there was, I sold my Xbox One and got rid of the games. The only game left that like piques my interest, like whoa, is the Fallout series. I still follow Fallout and Fallout 76.
76. See, I forgot the other 72. Or, sorry, 71. Games, they passed by me.
So they're talking like open world, they're talking all sorts, well, they're talking a lot, but we don't know anything really about it yet. Other than it's basically, it's very, very, very strongly hinted that the setting is West Virginia.
Alright. I love the Bethesda games. They're good. They're good. Battlefield 2 is alright. I played that game back on the Xbox as well, and I loved it with my brothers. This one is good. It's really pretty. Like, this is the prettiest game, or it's up there with the prettiest games I've seen.
Yep.
So I'll give them credit for that. The gameplay is all right. It's solid. There aren't as many features still, though, as that old one. But there are. I mean, it's still enjoyable. I would give it, if I had to give, I give it like a 4 or 5, 8 out of 10.
Okay.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. So let's see. What excites you this year about E3?
I don't know.
Are you into shooters?
No. See, here's the thing. I'm so bad at them.
Me too. And it used to be that didn't matter because you were just going to play the shooter by yourself
Or with
an
your
elaborate
buddies.
story or with your buddies. But nowadays, it's almost like a competitive sport thing where it's just kind of like, except it's the internet, so it's pretty much a guarantee you're going to get stuck with somebody who's like
Maybe they'll have voice
way
chat
better.
so you can get cussed up by a 10-year-old.
Yeah, get cussed out by a 10-year-old while they like utterly destroy you
Yeah.
over and over and over.
So who is watching this kid? The language is filthy.
Yeah, it's just like, where are the... Sounds so old. Where are the parents in this?
I know. It's like 2 in the morning.
I try to imagine, like, 10-year-old me playing a game where I'm, like, sawing someone's head in half and screaming expletives into a microphone.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to imagine any of my parents when I was 10 walking in the room. Oh.
No, they
It
would
would have
not
been the end of
that.
my life.
No, my mom would have killed me.
Yeah.
She's still but like, is that a shooting game? Do you shoot people?
Is she going to listen to this and be like, did you almost swear there?
I love her. She's awesome. But no, I can't play any mature games around her. Except, I can get away with Fallout 4 and Skyrim because they are mature, but for the most part, there's not too much in that vein. But no, that's still a thing at my house. The true story.
Huh.
No, but 10-year-old me, I played the platformers. I played Mario Kart 64.
Yeah, and part of it
10.
is 10-year-olds us was kind of stuck with, I'm trying to think of like a super like questionable game I had when I was younger. The only thing that I had that was questionable to my parents was that I started really getting into Dungeons and Dragons in junior high.
Oh no.
And my parents thought it was
Devil worship.
No, they didn't care, but because we're Catholic, we don't care. But but her sister, who's like a very like Southern Baptist, she was like visiting. She was Go ahead.
Sorry,
I should have taken care of that an hour ago, but. She was visiting for pheasant season and found out, and then I was like at the kitchen table and I was trying to explain. Mom didn't know anything about D&D, but my older brother had played it when he was a teenager, and I was trying to explain that. And of course, I'm always a cleric because I'm good with like the healing and support and stuff like that. So I was trying to explain to Mom. It's like, well, they made me a priest, and so I can use prayers to summon magical powers from ancient long dead deities, and just try to explain all this. And the Southern Baptist sister is just sitting there at the table, just kind of like,
I was a cleric of Paylor. Bless his holy son.
yeah, exactly. It's just like context. Definitely.
It's all the excitement of a rowdy game of Monopoly.
Yeah, and just like back then Mountain Dew, and some Mountain Dew Code Red and Surge. Surge was still around when I was doing it, and then chasing Daniel's cat around while I was upstairs driving his mom nuts because I was constantly using the stove to make pizzas because I would just go to the convenience store, and that was my bad. And I basically grew up in Daniel's basement playing D&D. It was great.
Oh, it's nice. Yeah, I love D&D, but now it's mainstream.
I know.
I can't handle the critical role people.
Yeah. Oh man, they're the worst, aren't they?
They are. Can't handle it.
I can't handle how mainstream it is because I remember in high school, even like because my class, really small class, really small South Dakota high school, we're super nerdy, and this is a tradition I bet a lot of people don't have. But in our school, we'd have these senior wills where the seniors would will things to you. Like we will the juniors.
So you're graduating, and so I'll bequeath it to the next.
Yep.
Okay.
And it was a thing. I think they usually did it around prom, is when they would announce them, and they'd put out like a formal thing where they'd read them and stuff. And a whole bunch of the ones to the boys in the junior class was all about like we will them manhood and the ability to get out of the Daniel's basement and talk to a girl and stuff like that. And I'm like, nowadays, half of those people in that class that were like jocks and stuff, it's like I know half of them are like heavy online gamers and they're playing D&D games that they gave me crap for playing the pen and paper version of, and they're sitting there like plugging away at the Xbox version of, and it's just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever, man. I was into it before it was cool.
No, D&D is good. I think D&D is actually good for kids. That teaches them organizational skills.
Math.
Teaches them math teaches them how to socialize.
What little math I left my teenage years with, I inherited 1,000%. Notice I don't know how percentages work.
Could be worse.
Was from D&D, because that was the first thing to actually get me interested enough to start doing math in my head and percentages and stuff like that.
A lot of literature, a lot of thinking about worlds and imagination.
Yeah, a crap load of reading. It's work as an old man getting back into D&D, because I've got another group again that keeps inviting me back, which bless their hearts, because I keep blowing them off because I've got podcast related stuff, but I should make an effort to go more often on Wednesday nights. Anyway, I have the new rule books and going through them, and I'm just like, God, I forgot how much just mental work this is, and I really got to figure out how to run my character, and I'm so used to games anymore where it's just kind of like...
So your new group uses the 5.0 stuff?
Yeah, they use the 5.0. Because I have, back at the farm, I have this footlocker that has every book, and I mean every one of them, written for Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 3rd edition.
Oh my god. Advanced Dungeons & Dragons or normal Dungeons & Dragons?
Advanced Dungeons & Dragons.
Oh, with Thaco and everything?
Yep, Thaco.
Oh, see, I've always pronounced it Thaco.
I think there was a rap song where they call stuff Thaco, which is not anything related to... Yeah. Anyway,
that is a lot of math. I'm impressed.
Yeah, so it was a lot of math, and then obscure rules, because we had, the Psionics handbook, and I had the Humanoids handbook, so I had a high-level Minotaur mage who had a psionic wild talent to do Dimension Door, so I had a teleporting, spell-casting, 9-foot-tall Minotaur who had such a high constitution he had regenerative powers. And just that's the kind of games I was playing. It's just it's so over the top.
Yeah, maybe Dungeons & Dragons is what you need to deal with your depression. Have you thought about that?
Yeah, it's what a lot of people say, but...
No, I know a guy that works at a prison, and that is how he deals with his stress. He does
I've heard that before, that it's really popular in prison now. Dungeons & Dragons. And it makes sense, because all they need is pencil and paper and one copy of the rule book, and if you've got all that time on your hands, I'm just kind of God, teenage me would have been sign me up for this prison where I get to play D&D all day.
Oh, well, thank you folks for holding on. I think it was an episode, and then I think it kind of just devolved more and more.
We put some happy back in the Happy Warrior.
Yeah, that's good. It's good. It's easy to get so I was going to say macabre, but that's actually one of your things.
Morose?
Morose. It's easy to get too sad. Things are serious, but there's a lot of good to look forward to. I mean, we live in a world of amazing marvels and technology, and there's so much on the horizon. I mean, I'm just excited. I have enough difficulties in my life already, but, in a way, I'm looking forward to the future to see what kind of cool things come out. Looking forward to AI and all the medical technologies and an Iron Man suit.
Oh, I can't wait for the Iron Man suit.
I probably would never be allowed to use it, but you can help.
I'm stealing one.
All right. Well, is there anything else we need to talk about, or do you think we're good here?
I think we're good. Have a great week, everyone, and we will talk to you again soon.
Thank you. Okay. Bye.
Thank you for listening. The Happy Warrior Podcast, hosted by Peter Von Pischke, produced by Robert Mailing, a production of the Sioux Empire Podcast Network. Learn more at happy-warrior.net.
A production of the SiouxEmpire.com.